Hey, Dylan Fry, the real estate guy, here to be your guy for any real estate needs in the Kansas City area. My goal with this channel is to educate you guys about what things you need to know when you're making that move to Kansas City, or if you're already in the Kansas City area, what things that I'm going to try and bring you some knowledge that would help you live a better life in the Kansas City area. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, as well as hit that little bell for any notifications of future videos, future interviews that we do with local business owners and local tradespeople, so that we can help your stay or your life in Kansas City be easier. Today on our Everyone Needs a Guy channel, we are going to be talking with is Daniel Parker. Daniel Parker is with Christian Brothers Roofing. Yep. And he's going to go through some things about what you should be looking for if you're looking to buy a home, and then other things that you should just be prepared for on your move to Kansas City. So, Daniel, get into it. Tell us a little bit about you, how you got into the business, and what's your big why.
Absolutely. I love Dylan Fry, the real estate guy, right? I'm Dan the Roof Man, so it's just those taglines, those nicknames, people can remember it, right?
Yeah.
I kind of stumbled across the roofing industry because everybody wants to be a roofer when they grow up, right? Now, when I went to school, I played college soccer, and so when I transitioned, I played at a community college at Maplewood. So when I transitioned, I went to UMKC. It's a commuter school. I joined a fraternity, and so when I joined that fraternity, I was trying to meet new people, and someone put randomly in a group chat like, "Hey, here's a paycheck. My family company's looking to hire some people." And I was the only person of our 60-man chapter to actually reach out to him like, "Hey, tell me more. What is this?" And next thing I knew, I was on top of a roof and kind of just fell in love with being outside. I'm a super competitive guy. And 2016 is when that started. And then after that, I just kind of fell in love with the process. Christian Brothers Roofing is a faith-based company, so Christian faith, brothers in Christ. I always say my why, again, always wanted to be a roofer, right? Complete joke there. But my why is to, glorify God's kingdom one roof at a time, right? So doing that kind of just solidified my love and passion for roofing in the company I work for. It's a family-owned business. They were founded in 2009, and they just kind of help customers and treat people they want to be treated, right? That's our biggest motto. And in this podcast, it's like our biggest thing, one of our core values at Christian Brothers is knowledge and just informing customers of the process, what are the benefits of a qualified roofing system, and how that helps you not only sell your home to buy a home, but just help that asset grow.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that I latched onto when we first got introduced to each other is we have a mutual friend in Saul, and he said, "Hey, you need to meet this guy." And as soon as we got into the room together, I could tell your passion and energy, and that's huge when you're talking about one of the biggest assets that you're ever going to own when you buy your home in Kansas City is your home, and the first place of infiltration on a home is through the roof. Yep. I mean, I was in insurance for a long time, and roof claims are serious, and sometimes they're hidden. And just being able to do those roof inspections and be able to have somebody that's an expert in the field is huge. And getting you out there and taking a look at it, I would always advise that. Now, so let's talk a little bit. So with your specific role, you're a project manager, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So what does that look like? How do people get a hold of you? How can you help them on their move to Kansas City?
Absolutely. So Christian Brothers, we offer free inspections. So I have a team of 6 other salesmen. So if I'm not available, we have other salesmen that are just as knowledgeable as I am and treat customers, again, the way you want to be treated. Now, how you reach out to us. So again, offering free inspections, that could be in home sales, that could be after a storm event. Things of that nature is a good time to get a qualified roofing expert to assess the damage. We were talking about it before, right? Your network is your strongest influence. So I go to homes and there's a roof leak. I have some good painters that are in my network too that I trust, and that just increases the value that I could bring to a customer. But the process to get a hold of us is our phone number is 816-453-7663. We always say 816-453-ROOF. Like I said, we offer free inspections, and that process goes, COVID hit in 2020. We did kind of change our process. We used to meet face-to-face. We still do. We like to meet people on the property. But we changed it to where we do virtual video inspections. So I don't know about you, Dylan, but there's a lot of people that don't get on the roofs, right? Probably 9 out of 10 of my customers have never been on the roof, have no intention to go up there.
Correct. So let's walk through that process. What does that look like? If you come out, you do a virtual roof inspection, what are you doing?
Yeah, so if you're not there, what I'll do is I'll put a ladder up where the safest part to walk on, get on the roof, and it's less than 60 seconds, and it's just a quick video of the condition of the roof, some problems if there are problems. If there's no problems, which is what I love to see often, is like, hey, your roof's great. You have 5 to 7 years left. If you ever need anything, give us a call, right? It's just that visual aid that just helps customers have that reassurance, just being transparent.
Correct. And that education level of what things you can do to protect this roof a little bit better, or what things to be looking for. I know that's a big piece of your business, is just educating the customer.
100%. It's funny. I talk to people all the time, right? It's like contractors, and there's so many contractors that put the word con in the contractor, right? And it's like, I own a couple houses, and it's one of those things where it's like, hey, when you have a bad contracting experience, it's two things, right? It's either they didn't set expectations or they don't communicate. It's like we try to communicate as much as we can.
I think that's with any business, is normally if they don't communicate, then it's a pitfall, because then you have no idea what's going on, and you're talking about you're working with people that this is their primary focus. Now, we're working with multiple different clients, and we're doing the same things every day, so something that doesn't seem as important to you is the world to those people, because they don't know what is going on with their house, and they're thinking, oh no, is this going to get worse?
Absolutely.
How should I handle this? Oh no, if they're having an issue with the insurance company, bringing you into the fold. I know we've talked and we'll get a little bit more into that, but like having a roofing expert is huge when you're talking about going through the claims process, and having somebody that's there to talk to those people that know what they're doing. Because that's one thing from being on the insurance side, having an educated roofer out there went a long way, as opposed to having just a client that has never done that before. Insurance adjusters will try to pull the wool over their head occasionally.
Oh, and for some reason, insurance, it's never simple, right? You get
Correct.
this 12-page document, and the first time they looked at it, like, I don't know how much money I'm getting, and I don't know if they're paying for the whole roof or not. Having someone that actually has done it and knows the process, it can just calm that stress, right? Because it is stressful. Not a lot of people have replaced a roof, right?
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, it is. And that's one thing that you have to remember in any business you're doing, is if you've got any business in the Kansas City area, one way to grow your client base is by constantly educating the consumer. And you want to make sure that you remember they don't do this every day.
Exactly.
You may do it every day, but the people that fail in their business is the people that get frustrated because of those it seems like a simple question, and the consumer doesn't know that, though. You don't know what you don't know.
Amen.
So let's talk a little bit more about what are 3 things that you keep top of mind. If somebody's moving to Kansas City area, they're buying a house here, what are 3 things that they need to do?
So 3 things. So thankfully, with the pandemic, right, we're transitioning back to the normal where people are actually getting their home inspected. Right?
Correct.
So I've had it happen the last 8 or 9 months where customers bought a property in 2021. They waived inspections. We're told the roof is new. Get up on the roof because they had a leak, and it's like, this roof isn't new. They didn't replace any flashing. It's like, did you get this home inspected? Well, no, I waived them. It's like, well, if you're going to buy a house, definitely don't waive inspections. Home inspectors are great. It's hard to find a home inspector that's a jack of all trades. Oftentimes they're professional or mastery in some things, plumbing, foundation, roofing. It's always wise, though, to have, the roof inspected by a qualified roofing expert, have the HVAC inspected by a qualified HVAC professional, just so you can cover all your bases. Because like we said, your home is your most important asset, and it's how you protect your family.
Correct, and that's unique with you guys, is you are doing free home inspections. Correct?
Yep, and we do offer inspection reports too. So depending on the complexity of the home, anything that we give, face to face or word of mouth, it's all free. But if you want something written down, we do inspection reports as well, just like you get from a home inspector. It's just more detailed on the roof itself.
Yeah, and at that point, normally it's because something's wrong.
Exactly. Well, and then we'll give a repair estimate. Exactly right, though.
Correct. So that's one of the top things. If you're moving to the Kansas City area and you don't know about Kansas City weather, hail's a big thing around here.
Yep.
Wind damage.
Yep.
you want to make sure you inspect that roof to make sure that you're not running into more problems than you may want to sign up for.
Absolutely. And it's, again, Kansas City, you get the extreme hots and colds, right? So crazy cold in the winter, crazy hot in the summer. So roofs nowadays are either a 25-year roof system, a 30-year roof system, or sometimes there's a 50-year roof system. Now in Kansas City, though, you're not going to get that exact term, right? So if it's an asphalt shingle, it's a 30-year shingle, you should expect to get about 25 to 28 years of life out of it. But like you said, Kansas City, historically, we get a hailstorm every 9 years. So historically, roofs get replaced every 9 years in Kansas City.
That's interesting information to know. So we talked a little bit about what people should do. What are some things that they shouldn't do?
So Dylan, I know you can contest to this, transitioning from insurance to real estate, but the one thing that I recommend everyone to do, so when there's a hailstorm, windstorm, and you're seeing all your neighbors get your roofs replaced, right? It's not wise to file a claim online. I'm sure you can contest to that.
We just talked about it last week on our other videos.
It's like when you file a claim online and say you send an adjuster out there and they toss you to the wool, they don't assess the damage properly. It's a nightmare to get that claim resolved properly. The best way to do it is to call your agent or a qualified roofing contractor you trust and have them assess the damage before you file a claim. Benefit to that is it just prevents the pointing fingers, the frustration through the policy, through the claim. And it just makes sure that you're not wasting people's times, right? You want someone that you can trust on the roof.
Yeah, and to further the point of, like we talked, and if you watch our other videos with the insurance guys, you'll see this, and you'll see us talk about this specific situation. But from another standpoint that we didn't touch on is if you inspect this roof first, and you come out and you tell me, hey, this is what I found in damage, you give me a qualified report, you say, this is the damage, this is how much it's going to cost to fix it. Now we're sending that information to the adjuster.
Exactly.
Where if adjusters have an ego complex sometimes, and if they adjust it first, they don't want to admit they were wrong.
100%.
So, and then it's an uphill battle from there to where you're trying to find, at that point, you're trying to find common ground where if you just do their job for them, and you do the inspection, you prepare the report, everything's already there. All they have to do is go out and say, yep, he's right.
Yep. It's documentation, right? I've been doing this since 2016. It's an absolute game, but it's the documentation that sets us apart, right? It's like, hey, here are the photos of all the penetrations, the line items that they use. Most insurance companies are essentially estimating the projects through Xactimate, which is an estimating platform. And it's like, again, line item breakdown. We provide all of that ideally up front. I go to homes, though. I literally went to one last week where the customer filed a claim online. It got denied, and I show up and I'm not seeing any damage. But now that claim that's denied is on their record. Right?
Correct.
And it's like the boy who cried wolf. If you consistently file claims, everyone's like, well, am I getting dropped from insurance? Well, if you continually get denials, probably.
Yeah, because at that point, they expect your claim frequency. And it all comes down to, I went to school to be an actuary, so it all comes down to the numbers thing. And it's awful to say it because people just don't understand. And that's my goal with this channel, is to educate everybody. Because people don't understand that by filing that claim, they now it puts it out there. It's kind of like
it's a paper trail.
Correct. It's kind of like your credit report. Every time you run, if you're going to run your credit score every single month, they're like, oh, they're shopping for new.
Absolutely,
they're shopping for new stuff.
And I happen, like, again, we do insurance. Our business is about 70% insurance, 30% retail. Again, just because we're in a store market, but it's crazy because we are, again, a local company. We don't ask for anything that's obnoxious. We're just trying to get you a roofing system you deserve. Again, if you follow the process, use this channel, just use your resources, it gives you the ability to maximize that claim and get the roof you deserve ultimately. And that's our goal at Christian Brothers, is just get you a roofing system that lasts with transferable warranties and gives you peace of mind when it rains.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is awesome. So to get back to our people that are moving to Kansas City,
yep.
You're a local guy, you've been around here, you went to Maple Woods and stuff. Give me some things that you love about Kansas City.
Well, Dylan, I'm sure it's barbecue, right? I love barbecue. Kansas City has almost every single major professional sports besides, we have a hockey team, the Mavericks. It's not like the Blues, but it's a hockey team. It's just sports, barbecue. What I love about Kansas City, I was born and raised. I grew up in Smithville and went to school there. Born and raised in Kansas City. My wife's from St. Louis. I don't know if I'll ever leave Kansas City. It's just that it's home.
Yeah.
City of fountains is what they say.
Yeah. So what are your favorite attractions to go see Kansas City?
Favorite attractions to go see. So when I went to UMKC, there's an area called The Point, which is what gives you the beautiful skyline of Kansas City. So if you guys want something super cheap, it's free. It's right by a horse. If you Google The Point, it gives you a beautiful view of the city. A good date night, because it is Valentine's Day coming up.
Yeah.
One of my wife's favorite places to go is Union Station. They decorate it for all times of the year. Right now, it's swagged out with Chiefs. But there's an awesome restaurant. Have you ever been to Pierpont's?
I have not.
So check it out. It's an unbelievable restaurant. It's awesome restaurant. Great food, great drinks. But it's a beautiful date night. So Union Station, you could walk around Union Station. Pierpont's is the restaurant right there. World War I Museum. It's the only World War I museum in the nation. Beautiful views of the city as well. So it's just, you could knock all of those out because it's in the same radius of the city. That's what we do as a date night, right? Union Station, Pierpont's, and then go to the World War I Museum.
That's awesome. Perfect date night. If you're looking to move to Kansas City, you've got to check this place out just so that you can take your wife out and let her enjoy the area, or take your husband out, let him enjoy the area.
Absolutely.
Well. Yeah. So with that being said, I can tell already you're pretty biased to Kansas City, but let's talk about some things that you think people may need to consider before they move. So things that may be pitfalls of moving to the Kansas City area.
So it depends where you're from, right? So I have a really close friend in Texas, right? And if it snows an inch or ice is an inch, right, everything's closed. No one's driving because they don't have, snow removal. I think Kansas City is like top 10 in snow removal, right? If it snows like 3-4 inches, I'm up in the Northland. I mean, there's the likelihood that you still will go to school, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you have good. I mean, if it snows or rains, I mean, people. It's crazy here in Kansas City, where we're in Tornado Alley, right? So it's funny. It's like my dad. I remember growing up, there might be a potential tornado, not in our vicinity, but close. They would go outside, with beer and just like look at this tornado, like, yeah, there's some storm coming on. So that's the Midwest, right? When it rains, when there's weather, you're watching it.
Yeah, I think the weather is the biggest thing that people need to be prepared for, because if you move down here in the summer, be prepared for the winter to be one day like it's the summer. The next day it's going to be raining, and then literally overnight it's going to drop to freezing, and it's going to be snowing the next day, and then it's going to be like 50 on Friday.
Oh, so it's crazy.
It's one of those things where you never know what's coming, and you just kind of wake up to a surprise sometimes.
And at Kansas City, too, it's funny. Played college soccer, so we had some people come from overseas, and it's like Kansas City, everyone was like, oh, you guys are known for the barbecue and the home of the Chiefs. And it's like, you got to come when you come to Kansas City when you move here. It's like finding the barbecue spot. Where is the best burn-ins in Kansas City, right? That's the game you're trying to find.
Correct.
So that's.
So let's hear 3 suggestions. What are 3 places that they should check out if they're coming here?
So if you come here, like, you have to go. It's now Kansas City Joe's. Used to be Oklahoma Joe's. The original locations in the gas station there off Mission. You have to go to Kansas City Joe's. My second favorite place, it depends if you're trying to get a little bit more bougie. I think Q39 is an awesome spot, Q39 or Jack Stack. But my favorite barbecue spots in Kansas City, Kansas is called Slaps.
Okay.
Have you been to Slaps?
I have not, but I've heard good things.
Dylan, it absolutely slaps. It's unreal. It's great. Go there. I think they have the best burn-ins in Kansas City is Slaps Barbecue.
That's awesome.
Now, Dylan, we talked about, though, so being a real estate professional, what is like the thing that you see most when people are moving out of state into Kansas City? What's like the thing that they're shocked about?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, we touched on it a little bit, is the weather, the culture shock here. A lot of things that people love is just how nice and how inviting the Kansas City people are.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it when we won, or back when we won the Super Bowl, or the Royals won the
World Series.
The World Series. We like the parades and everything. It was some of the few that didn't have these large riots or anything crazy going on, because everybody is enjoying it. That's one of the things that everybody loves, is just how much. Yeah, I mean, if you go out, right? I mean, we're about to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And if you go out on a Friday, all you see is red.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere.
It's crazy too, because they close schools down, businesses, even on a work day. I mean, I remember the Super Bowl parade. I mean, I think it was on a Tuesday, right? And it's like schools closed down, business closed down. It's a work day, but we're celebrating our team because of our fan base.
Correct. You're celebrating, and you're celebrating each other. That's one of the big things. I know there was some information going on on one of those most recent games where people were calling it Burrowhead, and I know that had so many Chiefs fans up in arms. I know your Facebook feed and everything, and your Instagram and TikTok and
It's
everything.
rigged.
Man, it is. It was crazy. Like, just to see how, and you just see that coming into that culture. And if you're moving here from a different area, you just, once you get it here and you start to see how much the area builds around each other, you never want to leave.
Absolutely.
That's one of the best things. Now, I'll say one of the worst things that people have is they come out here, and especially if they're moving from a bigger city, how spread out things are.
Oh yeah.
I think that that bothers some people is, hey, what do I go do? Now, if you're in the heart of Kansas City, there's a lot of things to do. But as you get out to those
suburbs,
the suburbs, more of those rural areas, you're like, what do I do? Well, if you got yourself some good people around you that know the area, that's what I would advise, is find somebody that knows the area that can point you in some general directions, like you talking about Slaps and the different places to go eat. And sometimes in the Kansas City area, you're either on the Missouri side or the Kansas side, and you got to know people on both so that you can find some good things to do, because everything's spread out, and it's hard to find that stuff unless you know
local. And there's a massive difference from Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, right? Someone moving to Kansas City don't know that, but there is a massive difference.
There is, and there's kind of that, like, it's a rivalry.
It's a rivalry, absolutely.
Yeah, so those are just some things that you need to know. If you're moving to the Kansas City area, you definitely are going to have to pick up some Chiefs gear.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to start checking out the barbecue spots, because otherwise you're not going to have anything to talk about.
100%.
And you got to be prepared for that weather. That's going to be a huge thing. And then some things not to do is if you're moving to the Kansas City area, get to know some locals. Get to know somebody that's out there. Reach out to one of us. Like, both of us have lived here our entire life, and we love helping people. Hey, go find this. Go do this. Go try this out. See if you like it. Give me some feedback on it.
The feedback's the most important thing, right? You give a recommendation, you want to make sure that recommendation is still a good recommendation.
Correct. Hey, how'd that go? Oh, if they say that's terrible, I'm like, man, what are they doing over there? Now I got to go check it out again.
When I was going through college, I had a person from Scotland go, and we went to Gates Barbecue, right? And people, if you ever go to Gates Barbecue, it's a different way you order your barbecue. You get yelled at, right? People are yelling back at you when you're ordering your food. And my friend from Scotland, he kind of froze. He's like, "What is happening here? Like, what do I say? They're yelling at me. Do I match the tone? What do I do?" It's like, man, it's okay. Just get your burn-ins and move on, right? But it's like, again, if you don't have a local, you go there the first time, it's like, what is happening, right? So it's just,
and you're just like,
part of the experience.
These people are rude. What are they doing?
Yeah, well, this isn't the Midwest way. It's like, well, it's the Gates way.
Okay, so we touched a lot on people that are looking to move to the Kansas City area, but you work with a lot of sellers as well that are getting their home ready for market. You're going out and doing those inspections. Let's talk about some things that sellers should be aware of. If they're looking at putting their house on the market, what should they do with a roofing expert?
So I work with sellers all the time. I do tell people, right, Christian Brothers Roofing, we're not the cheapest roofer out there. We're not the Chuck in the truck, the Ronda and the Honda, the stepdad's brother's cousin's best friend. We're a professional roofing company. But for sellers, if you're going to put your home on the market, we'll say in the next couple months or even year, and your roof is more than 15 to 20 years old, it's not a bad idea to get the roof inspected by, again, a local qualified contractor, just to be proactive in the home sale, right?
Sure.
Go to home inspectors. You put your home on the market, you find another home, and you're kind of in that deadline to transition to the new house. And then you get your home inspected, and there's a roof problem, a plumbing problem, an electric problem, a foundation problem. If you're proactive, it just makes the transaction a lot smoother. And so being proactive, having someone come out if your roof is older, if you've had problems with plumbing or foundation, just, again, finding contractors you trust to make sure that the home sale transacts properly.
Correct. And to further that point, if you get a inspection on your roof and you've got a qualified roofer coming out and saying, hey, roof is awesome, it's got another 10, 15 years on it, that is going to help the next home buyer feel safe, because that's one of the things that every real estate agent should be preaching to them is, we got to check the foundation, we got to check the roof.
Yep.
We got to make sure those two things are sound, because you don't want any water coming in below, and you don't want any water coming in overhead, because a lot of times you won't see it.
And I always say work with gravity, right? So roof first, top down. And again, you're completely right. You won't see it. It's one of those things where if you have a disclosure and you don't know the age of the roof, you have a roofing contractor come out there and they know what they're doing, they've done it for a while, you can kind of estimate what the roof is. And so then that disclosure isn't unknown. It's the roof's 10 to 15 years old.
Correct. And talk a little bit about granular loss, because with our roofs and having the hailstorms out here and different stuff like that, some roofs from the naked eye look like they're in pretty good shape. And then when you actually get somebody that's qualified up there looking at them, they're not necessarily in that great a shape.
Dylan, the real estate guy, I love that you said that, right? So I always tell customers, again, knowledge is super important to us. Your roof is like a car. You want the right amount of intake and exhaust to properly ventilate that roof system. And that's with intake vents or soffit vents, and then exhaust ventilation, either box vents, ridge vent, or turbines. But the granule loss oftentimes happens, it's heat blisters. And heat blisters look like hail, but again, it's just the shingles are kind of popping like popcorn because it's so hot in the attic space. The goal is to have your attic space within 10 degrees of the outside temperature. Doing that will extend the life of the roof, make sure it lasts that lifetime it's supposed to, but also help with the HVAC bills inside. So again, when you're losing those granules is the sun protection. So that gives you the sun protection. The asphalt's what sheds the water off. A lot of people think, hey, my roof is waterproof. Your roof is waterproof, right, because there's an underlayment underneath the shingles, but shingles are just there to shed water. So that pitch of the roof is what's allowing that water to shed off when it rains or snows. But the granule loss is something that, again, home inspector that's not super qualified might think it's hail. If you have a qualified contractor, ultimately it might not be hail. It could be a ventilation issue. It could be a defect in the shingle, and we can help navigate that problem for sure.
Correct. Yeah, and that's something that when you get an adjuster out there, I've heard that a lot is, oh, this is a shingle defect or anything like that. What are the top 3 denials you've seen for
top 3 denials I've seen? So it's, again, it's a conversation that I've had where we're kind of bouncing back as we go to a lot of seminars to educate ourselves on the insurance process.
Correct.
But oftentimes when there's a storm date, you have a year to file that claim. Once you file the claim, you have a year to complete that work, unless you ask for an extension, things of that nature. Maybe a family death, COVID would be a good one, that you could extend that claim or that policy out to make sure that you can do the work within the allotted time. But the denials that I keep seeing is, there is hail up here, but it's outside the date of loss. The storm date was 2 years ago. We need a newer date. So then I use the conversation, well, it's the date of discovery, right? Maybe the customer wasn't home or in town. Maybe they were traveling when they hailed, right? And they come in, they start noticing a leak. They called a contractor out there. There is hail. You could use the date of discovery to argue that point. But again, that's using the process of actually calling a contractor or your agent before you file the claim, just so you can get the discovery first. Another thing that we see is the excessive granule loss. And again, a lot of people think that might be hail damage, but it just could be a defect in the shingle. A defect in the shingle. Shingles come in 39 inches is the length of most shingles. And so a manufacturer's defect will have the same problem on that field shingle, on that separate shingle throughout the roof. Hail damage isn't like that. Hail damage is scattered. It's
correct.
You'll see it all over the roof.
There's not a specific pattern.
Not a pattern, exactly. And so if you get up there, you see excessive granule loss in the same spot of the shingle, that's a defect. Can't really claim that on homeowners insurance. It potentially could claim it back on the manufacturer if they filed warranties. It's a blessing that we do is we use JF's the largest shingle manufacturer in North America. They have awesome warranties. They stand behind their warranty. If there is a defect, we have a claim rep, great relationship with them. We can get him involved and kind of help that process.
And that's awesome is because I know a lot of people, they're watching HGTV doing some other things and they're trying to do these things on their own. And that's one piece that they don't necessarily have. I know going back to switch lanes a little bit in the car industry, there was a lot of talk about, do I use OEM or non-OEM parts? And one thing that I always noticed that people didn't know is that the OEM were only guaranteed for as long as the factory warranty is, which is normally 1 year. And the non-OEM was guaranteed for as long as they own the vehicle.
Oh, wow.
So, which I had story. I had a client that had a bumper messed up, and we replaced the bumper. We put non-OEM on it, and a year and a half later, the paint cracked, which, again, in that Missouri weather, the sudden changes, some of that type of stuff does happen. Well, if we had put OEM parts on it, there was nothing that she could do on that. But because we had non-OEM parts, and she came in, she's like, this is already cracked. It's only been a year and a half since I got it repaired. And so what we did is we went in and we got it repainted and replaced it because it's It's non-OEM. It's guaranteed for as long as she owns the vehicle.
It's that lifetime warranty.
Correct.
It's crazy. So when I first started in 2016, we had a claim from a customer that didn't use us. Essentially same material that we use all the time, which is that GF Timberline shingle. And there was a defect in the shingle. It was absolutely defective. There was no doubt about it. So we got the rep involved, and this is where we learned and started educating our customers once we learned this. But when the rep came out, the first thing they'd look at if there's a defective shingle is ventilation. So they try to confirm if there's the right amount of intake and the right amount of exhaust. This home didn't have the right amount of intake. They didn't have soffit vents in the front of their home, which is where the defects were, was in the front, the south facing, which sees the most amount of sun.
Correct.
So when the manufacturer came out there, the first thing they looked at was the ventilation, noticed it was incorrect, and in their clauses of their contract, they were like, hey, it's defective because there's not right ventilation. It's not our fault. And we're like, wow, that's crazy. I mean, what leg can you stand on, right? I mean, we didn't do the roof, but it's like, man, that sucks. Ever since then, we try to push that, make sure your roof system is actually properly ventilated, to make sure the manufacturer's warranties are intact, because if they are intact, there's no way for them to backpedal.
Well, and I think that comes down to what you were talking about earlier with contractors putting the con in contractors is
Amen.
There's a lot of people that are like, oh, I've done this, or, I mean, you know how it is. Like with business, if you've been involved at different levels of business, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and there's so much knowledge that has to be obtained, and everybody thinks they know it. And then you run into situations like that to where it's like it's possibly preventable. You just have to have somebody that can educate you on how this system is supposed to work, and that knows how that system's supposed to work, and has a checks and balances thing. So when they're done with this system, they come back and either look at it, or they have somebody to. I mean, how do you gauge a roof? Like, how do you check that ventilation? What's some things around that?
So soffit vents is, so your roof has your home has an overhang, right? It's like when you write that typical gingerbread house, it's where your interior wall or your siding is. There's a little overhang. That's where your soffit vents are. So quick thing is when you walk around, a super nice day like today, you could walk around and see if you have perforated vents in your soffit. If you do, great. If you don't, give us a call. Another way is to look at exhaust ventilation. On your roof, there's 3 types of exhaust ventilation, right? You get the turbines, those things that are the whirlybirds, the spinners. This time of year, some people put trash bags on them, so you'll see some trash bags. Box vents or ridge vent. And if you have any questions, you don't know, you want someone to assess it, we're ventilation experts. We would love to assess it.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Why do they put trash bags on it?
It's funny, man. So I've sold 2 turbines in my 10 years as a roofer, right? 6 years. The reason I did this older customer was just dead set on turbines. Turbines spin, and when they're spinning, that's what's sucking the air out of the attic space.
Correct.
Issue with the turbines is after 10 to 15 years, there's ball bearings in that turbine. And so when it gets super cold, we get those freeze-thaw cycles. Those bearings will seize up. And so if they're spinning and they're seized, you could damage the turbine. So put the trash bag on there. The thought is it's going to insulate it. Issue, though, is if you don't take that trash bag off and it's the springtime, right, that trash bag is going to cause some damage to that turbine because it's trying to spin, suck the air out of the attic. The issue, though, is if you only have turbines and you cover them, how are you ventilating your attic space?
That's a valid point. Is what is it actually doing at that point?
It's doing nothing, right? And it's like we always tell customers, like, we want to be as maintenance-free as possible, right? So, I mean, we do roof gutters and gutter guards to try to give you a maintenance-free home. Like I said earlier, though, 9 out of 10 customers have no intention to ever get on the roof, right? So we're in that unique trade where we do a brand new roof. Customer pays $15,000 and it's just going off the word of mouth trust of the contractor.
Correct.
Now, Christian Brothers, our process is we send videos before, during, and after the roof, so you can kind of see what we see. Benefit for us as the contractor is we're documenting that. So good example is I'm just looking around. There's brick. A lot of homes in Kansas City have brick chimneys, right? Wood chimneys, gas chimneys, they're awesome. But brick, you have to service that brick, right? The brick, do some tuck pointing. You have to service that brick. Well, if you service that brick on a steep roof, you could damage the shingles if you don't use a qualified contractor that's a brick mason.
Correct.
So again, we just try to cover ourselves, but also show them, like, hey, here's your beautiful roof. If you don't ever get up here, here's what it looks like. Here's the view from the rooftop.
That's awesome to be able to have that for anybody that's looking in the area. You don't want to get on a roof. That's why everybody needs a guy. They need somebody that is a guy or gal that's going to come out there and is going to educate them on that specific industry, because again, they don't do it every single day. And that's why it's good to find quality people that are going to tell you the right things and make sure that you're really taken care of. And that's what I pride myself on with bringing this knowledge, is bringing in people that I have faith in.
Yep.
And I can trust to say, hey, if I have somebody that's looking to get a new roof or needs an inspection, I'm like, hey, go give this guy a call, because he's gonna Daniel's gonna take good care of you. With Christian Brothers Roofing, they're awesome. They're going to put you in the best position. They're going to make sure that your insurance claim or whatever's got going on is going to be handled correctly. Get with them.
And it's one of those things where we're like honest to a fault too. So I had an instance, this is a couple months ago last year, but I get up on this customer's house. They're getting the neighboritis, right? Neighboritis, I always say it's like, everyone in their neighborhood's getting their roof replaced, right? They have a large name insurance company. Get up on the roof, and I don't see any damage. I can't document any damage. I can't find any damage on a roof. Her roof is a little steeper, so the steeper your roof, the more often or not the hail damage isn't going to actually damage the shingles. It's going to kind of deflect off. But I get down. I was like, hey, I have great news for you, Miss Homeowner. You don't have any damage up there. And she looks at me and kind of like super upset. She's like, well, how do I have no damage, but all my neighbors do? It's like, well, maybe God was looking over you. I don't know. And she's like, well, that just doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, well, Miss Homeowner, doesn't it make sense for me to tell you to file a claim? Because like right now I'm just trying to ultimately help you, right?
Yeah.
If you want to file a claim, that's your policy. You do whatever you want to do, right? But if I lived here, I would not file a claim. And she's like, well, I'm going to have to get a second opinion. It's like, get a second opinion, but just listen. If they're going to get a second opinion, I've been on so many roofs that they get someone out there that door knocks their house after a storm. They're trying to do that sense of urgency, like, hey, your roof's going to leak after a hailstorm. That is not true unless we get freaking softball-size hail. That softball-size hail is probably going to damage your roof. It might go through your roof deck. You might have actually hail in your house.
Yeah.
But if it's golf ball-size hail, it's just going to, damage the shingles where they're not going to last the lifetime it's supposed to. That's why you have insurance. But these roofers, these storm chasers, these door knockers are going to try to provoke you to sign something on the spot. Highly recommend not to do that. There's not a sense of urgency after the storm as long as your roof's not leaking. But if you let people go up on your roof, they could vandalize it. Right? And that's a whole nother thing. I don't know if you ever dealt with that in the insurance game, but it's a freaking nightmare, right? And it's like, is this vandalism? Is it storm damage? It's funny. Easy way for us to identify vandalism on roofs. We always say it's scared of edges, right? So I went on a roof one time. Easiest way to walk on a roof is in the valley. So it's where two slopes meet. Typically it's metal there. It's the safest way to balance yourself and climb up on the roof. Got on a roof after someone, and I found damage only in the valley area and right at the ridge. So this guy is just essentially damaging the roof where he can safely walk. I walked the rest of the roof, and I don't see any other storm damage, any other damage besides in the easiest walkable areas.
Correct.
Come down the roof, and it's like, this isn't hail, it's vandalism.
How does that process work? So because oddly enough, I had never seen that in my entire time that I was in insurance. I was in insurance for 7 years before I transitioned over to real estate, and I've never actually ran into that.
So vandalism, it's interesting because it's tough. The toughest part of my job is every insurance carrier, every insurance adjuster is different, right? Catch them on a good day, bad day, right? So inconsistent, which sucks. So there's a Hague certification, which is what our guys are. It's essentially how insurance companies assess hail, wind damage. So what I'll recommend to customers, like, hey, you have vandalism here. It does look like hail. Depending on your adjuster, depending on the company, your insurance company.
Correct.
They might claim it as insurance, they might claim it as insurance damage as far as storm damage, or they might say it's vandalism. And how that looks is if it's a qualified storm chaser, they have an LLC, they have a company name, that insurance carrier will then fight to get the roof paid for by that company, the person that damaged the roof, either by their insurance. Hopefully they have it. Hopefully it's not a Chuck in the truck, Ron the Honda, stepdad's brother's best friend. Right? There's a lot of things there. But yeah, how that works is file a claim. If it's storm damage, great. If they claim it as vandalism, that insurance carrier, that insurance company,
they're going to go after the person that did it.
The company.
Correct. They're going to hold them liable.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've seen that in other industries.
It's that point. It's that he said, she said, right? It's like,
correct.
Sucks.
And I've seen that in other industries. I mean, and that's why you should always do some research on who you're bringing out to your house. I mean, I had a client that was getting their furnace checked or something, and it was a hot water heater. They were getting it checked. Well, they did something and broke loose a broke loose something, and it flooded the entire floor. And then they were like, we didn't touch that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and it's like, what do you mean you
Who
didn't
touched
touch
it? That's crazy. We check attics too, and I'll get on roofs. Company will replace the roof. There's a water heater furnace flashing that goes up, pushes the carbon monoxide out of the roof, out of the home. And if you don't replace that flashing, you could potentially move elbow, depending on how old the roof, depending on how old the home is. That wall, that pipe that goes into the attic could rust at the elbow. And I had a customer that had a bunch of leaks in their home. They thought, they just had these quarter-size spots all over the roof or over their ceiling in their house. They thought their home was raining in. What it was there was too much humidity in the attic. What happened was the roofer was going too fast, I think, and didn't replace the flashing. When they were manipulating the flashing to go up to install new shingles, the actual pipe inside the attic space came disconnected. So when I went there and assessed it, I opened the attic hatch, put my head up in the attic, and I instantly get a headache. When you do that, any homeowners at home, if you instantly get a headache in your attic, it's carbon monoxide, right? There's a bunch of carbon monoxide in this attic. Instantly get down. I told the homeowners, like, hey, you need to turn your furnace off. Homeowner turns the furnace off, wait like 10, 15 minutes, climb back in the attic. It's not as bad, and I'm able to look in there and see that the actual pipe's disconnected. So we do like to say we put on great roofs. We also save lives, right? Because carbon monoxide is a silent killer.
Correct.
So if you don't get your roof assessed, we recommend to get your roof assessed like every 3 to 5 years. But if you do any work at your home, right, if it's roof, it's foundation, there's some subsequential things that could happen if it's not a qualified local company that does the work.
Correct. Yeah, no, and I agree with that. That is a huge thing, and I've put in multiple furnaces and vents and different stuff like that from my dad. My dad had a heating and cooling business. I had helped him all throughout my childhood and stuff. So I completely understand where you're coming from on that. If you don't have those things vented properly, it could come back to potentially kill somebody.
Oh, it's crazy. And it's crazy too, because it's like you said, people have never gone through the process before. So that scare, that stress, completely normal. Right? Yeah. But you just got to find the guy that you can trust to do it.
Yeah, and I would advise every homeowner, if you're in the, because we talked about it a little bit, there's different places. I was with a guy in an ACA meeting today that said that they don't have furnaces and stuff where they're from. So if you're looking to move to the Kansas City area, you need to have a carbon monoxide detector. If you've got a gas furnace or you've got any gas appliances in your house, you need to make sure you have a carbon monoxide detector. Make sure you have your fire detectors. Make sure you have fire extinguisher.
In every floor of your home, a fire extinguisher.
Yes, that is key. I come from a background. My entire wife's family has been fire chief and different levels of the fire department, and every level of your house needs to have fire extinguisher because you never know when you're going to have to use it. And yes, it gets messy, but it could save everything else in your home just by having that on the spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate you coming out here because I encourage everybody to check out Christian Brothers Roofing and give Daniel a call. We'll put his number up on there, so that way you can reach out to him and get your roof inspected. Make sure that you make this transition to Kansas City really easy. Or if you're already here, make sure you're getting that roof inspected. Get it checked out. But before we go, give me your elevator pitch. If it's just me and you, how are you? What is your selling points?
Man, I love that elevators pitch. So you say ACA. I'm in a networking group called BNI, so we do a 30-second ask. So my ask this week, we were talking about my chapter. We meet every Wednesday, and so my ask is, we're looking for golden gooses, right? Golden geese, so insurance agents, realtors. But my elevator pitch is, we're a family-owned business. The biggest thing that makes us different than our competitors is we're the only company in the state of Kansas and Missouri to be a 2-star President's Club winner with GAF. Like I said earlier, GAF's the largest shingle manufacturer in North America. So we pride ourselves in understanding how to properly install a roof system. And we've been around since 2009. So deal with a lot of customers that, got their roof replaced 5, 6, 7 years ago by Storm Chaser. They're no longer in business. Their roofs are leaking, but they have a 10-year workmanship warranty, but they don't have anyone to go back to. And so, again, been in business since 2009. If you guys ever have an issue, ever have a problem with your roof, we stand behind our work. And I think what tells a customer or tells a company or even a person, it's when something happens that doesn't go as planned because we're human. That's how you react to that fire, to that situation, and we run towards it. We want to make sure that you tell your family, your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues that Dan the Roofman and Christian Brothers Roofing is the guy to go to.
I appreciate it. Hey, and I really enjoyed having Dan the Roofman out here. It's always a good time when we can get together and just spitball ideas and talk, whether it's on air or off air. But to wrap this thing up, if you're looking for a roofer in the area, make sure you reach out to Dan the Roofman with Christian Brothers Roofing. And I appreciate you guys watching this video. If this is your first time to one of these interviews, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and then turn on that bell for any notifications of future tradespeople that are out there that that'll help make your move to Kansas City easier. Again, I'm Dylan Fry, the real estate guy. I'm a licensed realtor in the state of Missouri, and working on the Kansas side. But if you're making that move to Kansas City, give me a call. I'll get you hooked up with everybody that you need, and we'll get your move started. Thank you.